Hi everyone, this is Angela. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you all have been good and groovy since the last time that you saw me yesterday or whenever that last time was. So today's video, I am talking about shamanic healing. Um, oh gosh, maybe within the last year or two, along this journey that I've been having, I thought about who I was and what I wanted to be in this world, in this lifetime. And I came up with the word shaman. It embodied everything that I believe in spiritually, mentally, my experience, the talents and gifts that I have for healing, listening, my level of compassion and empathy. And that's the word that I came up with. And I gone to see a shaman when I was in my early 20s and had the most profound experience. It was a seminar given to, there were maybe over 100 of us, maybe a couple of hundred of us, and it was just a really, I remember in that moment my spirit opened up. And so since I discovered that that's what I wanted to be in the world, I've had a hard time sort of figuring out what that means in today's society for me, who I am, and how I plan to make money. And I've come to the conclusion that it is already who and what I am. I'm on this journey, this sort of shamanic journey. I don't have to have a specific job to be that. And so a lot of the healing that I do, I administer to myself. And so I told you in yesterday's video that I went to see a shaman about a year and a half ago, and probably longer. And I'm lighting some Nag Champa incense. It always settles and calms me and centers me. Um, and I went to see this shaman, and he taught me how to um, go within to the place of the hurt, to the place of the wound that you experience, and to heal that child that's been hurt. You know, I was thinking about this past week, my major issues, a major wound that I have. And at first I was thinking it was like daddy issues, you know, feeling abandoned by my father. And it is part of it, but it's a greater sense of not being good enough. When I first started therapy on the road to transition over 10 years ago, um, gosh, this is probably a good 15, 16 years ago, I discovered that I had a not good enough complex, is the way that she sort of put it to me. Everything, just nothing was good enough. I wasn't good enough. What I was doing in life wasn't good enough. I didn't measure up to my friends. She really helped me to understand my personal value system. And I wanted to get to the root of this feeling of not feeling good enough and where that started. So, and it was ironic today because I was on the phone with my dad, and we're setting up a time for him to, you know, we're driving tomorrow to Cincinnati for my speaking engagement, and I'm going to meet him at his house, and then we're going to drive. And I was just thinking about wow, he's showing up. And I also had an epiphany in that moment where he's showing up because I asked him to. I've also learned that you've got to ask what you want in this world. I've expected a lot. I've expected to be saved. I've expected people to know what I want, know what I need, even in times when I didn't know what I needed or wanted. So, you know, he's showing up because I've asked him to. And I never really asked him to before. I sat and I lamented over the fact that he wasn't doing for me, but I never expressed to him that I wanted him to do for me. Well, you know, that's not necessarily true. As a kid, I did want him to do for me, and he sometimes didn't show up. So this feeling of not good enough. So in the practice that this healer taught me, go back to a time before you didn't feel like you were good enough, right? And for me, an image immediately pops up in my mind of me being a kid of about 4 or 5, happy, smiling, running around the house without too many cares. Um, Part of that feeling started as a child with my gender confusion. I remember the first time it ever got brought up to me that I was different. Our class was being lined up, and normally, because I started school, nursery school, okay, this Nag Champa is really doing the most. I started school when I was about, you know, nursery school, which is before kindergarten, which is before first grade. So in first grade I was 6, nursery school I was 5. I mean, kindergarten I was 5, and so nursery school I was like 4. So I was about 4, and the 4 to 6, that time period, the teacher split us up into 2 lines instead of the 1 line that we normally would do, single file line. And she split us into gender. Now, I didn't know it at the time, and all the boys went over here, and in my mind it was like all those guys, all those people went over there, and then I went over here with my peeps. And I remember the teacher coming straight to me, and she took me on the line. She grabbed me by my shoulders and she put me in the other line. And I remember looking up to her like, why are you putting me over there with those people? And at this point I had come to discover that boys were rough, devious, they had an adventurous spirit, and they were antagonistic. And they were antagonistic towards the girls, and the girls tended to be really giggly and funny. We would tell stories with each other at playtime, and the boys would antagonize us. And at that age, gender is not a construct that we know of, and so we treat each other as we see. So all the boys in the class treated me just like they treated the girls, and so I thought I was being punished, being put with the bad people. And I remember drawing up a big fuss, and she ended up letting me stand in the middle of the line. She would let me stand in the middle of the line a lot, and this was good enough, but it it helped me, but it wasn't good enough because I felt like all of a sudden I wasn't good enough to be what I knew myself to be. So the practice is to go to that point, and be the soothing that I needed in that moment that I didn't get. So I'm going to do that right now. And I'm feeling really, really vulnerable because when I'm on these videos, really in my mind, this phone, my recording device is an audience, so I don't feel alone. So I feel really vulnerable because I don't feel alone. So I'm going to take a moment, center myself. Oh, but I'm crying. So I said a prayer that I can be authentic and honest, have an honest experience, and give myself the healing that I needed in that moment. And so I visualize that child, and I go back, and in that moment I tell that child that you are okay. You are good enough. There will be a moment when you realize who you are. You've always been right. And the adults around you aren't mean, and you aren't being punished. They just don't know what to do. And I sit with that. And I feel the healing of my inner child. And I release the fear, the anxiety, and the guilt for being different. I can release that. There are other moments that have to do with this feeling of not being good enough. And I'm going to go to each of those moments that feel really prominent, that I've been stuck in mentally. And I'm going to allow myself to move forward. I'm going to leave it here because this could take a long time. But I wanted to share this process with you of healing. And this is what I do. It doesn't always, you don't have to light incense. I did burn some sage. You don't have to burn that. I do suggest a prayer, being centered, and doing what you need to do to get there. These are my rituals that make me feel good and make me feel immediately in that place of spirit. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for letting me share this moment with you guys. This is part of the work that I'm doing. And honestly, I've said before, like, this is the easier part because the hard part for me is like the real world applications. But I came across the knowledge that one of the reasons I have issues with my finances, and let me go ahead and put this out there while it's on my mind, is that I've not really truly believed in the real world. Like, I know that my spiritual world is more important to me, but I came across some spiritual work, and it was talking about how, like, I chose to be here. I chose to be on this planet, and having a sense of security and working within the system that is in place is important. I'm part of this game in a sense. I don't have to allow it to make me feel a certain way because I have been out of sorts with it. I'm learning to change the way I feel about being in the world and doing all the things that I need to do, because if I don't have that level of responsibility that I need, it's detrimental to myself. And so I just do it. It's part of the work. It's part of the work that I've not believed in, because I don't necessarily believe in a capitalist system. But this is the system that I find myself, and I'm able and capable of not only showing up and being responsible, but excelling, exceeding, and thriving. So that's part of what I've been learning. learning to accept and change my spiritual and mental relationship with my responsibilities in the world. So I'm going to end it here. As always, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Namaste.